we've talked a little bit about this motorcycle. You said, it's like we said, it's already been through the Oregon BDR, and it's been set up with quite a few Touratech accessories. Can you walk us through what it's been set up with? All right, well, we're on our way now. We're on the train, and we're on the AMTRAK here in Portland, heading to Seattle. And we're gonna go out here and pick a little something up. To Seattle on the train for the first time. That was cool. Never been on the train before. Short ride, short and nice. Now we get to go to the next stop. Surprise. All right, well, the nice guy Uber driver just dropped me off, and we're gonna go in here to pick up this machine. Let's go see what we find. I'm kind of excited and nervous about this, but I think this is it. We are here at Touratech. All right, let's go see what this is about. Here we are. We are now at Touratech USA in Seattle. Guys, I'm so excited. I'm here with my friend Kimo. We've been chatting over Facebook here for a little while, and I'm here to pick it up. I'm here to pick up the motorcycle that I'm going to ride for 1 year across North and South America, and we'll see how it goes. I have never a machine like this. This is a 2022 Pan America Special, and if you see, this machine has been outfitted by Touratech. You can see there, it's already been set up by Touratech, and it's already written the Oregon BDR. And if you don't know what the BDRs are, I can get into that a little bit later, but this is it, guys. This is the machine. I'm so excited. Can you walk us through what it's been set up with?
Yeah, absolutely. Generally, adventure bikes, they are kind of purpose-built machines, so that they're travel bikes, but you can, do moderate off-road. Like you see in the background, some of the videos, they're big bikes and, doing off-the-pavement riding. So that's kind of the purpose of these bikes. You can commute to work and back comfortably, and, they're powerful machines. You can do all kinds of travel, and then, if you want to do a little bit off the pavement riding. But then off the pavement, kind of the main things that usually people address is having good luggage. So this bike, has very sturdy pannier racks. The boxes we have here, so there is enough capacity to take pretty much anything you need on your travels.
That's great.
Then there is a big top case. So pretty much you can have everything you need for your travels.
Yeah.
But then the second biggest thing for us is always crash protection.
Sure.
So we kind of assume that these big bikes that you might have a little tip over here and there. So it's good to protect the vitals of the motorcycle. That's kind of the first thing that we always do. So you have very sturdy crash bars. So if the bike tips over, crash bars protect the motor, the radiators, fans, things like that. There's also a big heavy skid plate, or belly pan. It can happen that you're on a normal Forest Service road or bad road, and there's some big potholes, and then when you basically have a pokey rock or something, you really want to protect the motor from the bottom. So the other thing is good to protect is much stronger hand guards. So these are metal spine hand guards. Stock bikes, they often have plastic ones. They're more like wind protectors, but these ones are much stronger. So obviously if you tip over, the levers might break, some of the controls. So that's a good thing to have.
That's fantastic.
We can move to the headlight here. So headlight, if you bust the headlight, you're going to keep riding. But headlights on modern bikes, they're very expensive. So it's good to protect them because it might be on the highway speeds, that a rock is kicked up and then busts your headlight. Similarly here, radiator is something that very common, just on highway speeds. And if you poke a hole in the radiator, you can't ride the motorcycle. So we have also mirrors that, if you're riding off-road, you can fold them out of the way. But say, if you bust your mirror or something, it's just gonna keep going. You're gonna deal with it later. But vitals on the motorcycle is very important to protect. Other things we have on this bike is basically GPS setup up here. And nowadays it's just very handy to have a separate dedicated GPS, motorcycle GPS. You can have it routing, and it also has you can pair it to your cell phone, so you can do a lot of functions with your cell phone, and it basically wirelessly talks to the GPS. Great. A couple other things that we have are kind of off-road things. Wider and grippier foot pegs and the brake pedal. So if you have rubber foot pegs, and if you're doing off-road riding, little mud and wetness, you could sometimes slip. So what's nice with these foot pegs, because you're standing on the bike, so they're wider platform, and then you basically have much grippier so that you don't slip and drop the bike because of that.
Very cool. Very cool.
This bike also has basically brand new tires. We call these 50-50 tires. So you see the pretty knobby profile, but it's still pretty round. So when you leaned over on pavement corner, you still have a good, decent amount of contact patch. Dirt bike tires that are really knobby, when you leaned over on pavement, gets really squirrely. But this adventure type tire that is very round profile, it provides good traction off-road, but also quite good still on pavement. So.
But we also notice I've got a Touratech seat on there.
Right. So stock seats, they are often they actually, many manufacturers, they put stock seats that are very soft. So initially when you hop on the bike, you feel like, oh, this is great, but then you start riding it, and literally a couple hours later, you're like in pain. You sink in, and then effectively it doesn't work. So the idea with Touratech seats is that you have a dual density foam. So initially it might feel like, oh, it's a bit firm, but then after the half a day, usually it's like you can ride for a week and whatever, and basically it supports your body. It's kind of like a mattress that, soft mattress might feel. You lie down, it's like, oh, this is comfortable, and then you soon start having back pain. But so it needs to have a proper support.
Okay, great.
We do have also adjustable shift lever here, so you can, depending on your boot size, you can vary the length of it. Those ones are kind of like ergonomics items. We do have a guard there. Just try to protect vulnerable spots on the bike.
Vulnerable spots of the motorcycle.
And this bike was written in the Oregon BDR film. So it was in the original film, featured in that, and did really well on that trip.
I actually watched it. So the Oregon BDR, you could go to YouTube and just go Oregon BDR, and right here was on that video. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited about this motorcycle is it's already been outfitted to do just about anything I wanted to do, really. And so I walked into this beautiful shop, and Kimo, we didn't tell them about Touratech. Do you have just a minute or two to tell us about Touratech and what you guys do?
Right. So Touratech is actually a German company or manufacturer. They started now a little over 30 years ago, and their products are mostly for these big adventure touring bikes. So they have been making luggage, crash protection, and all kinds of items for adventure bikes and adventure riders. And we have been the importer for US since early 2000. So that is really the history of our company. And again, any bike model that there's an adventure bike model, we basically cater those bikes and customers. So
yeah, and so you guys primarily motorcycle protection gear, also riding gear, or
yeah. So like on this wall, you see we have some adventure helmets. So we have basically modular helmets here that you have the flip up face. These ones are more traditional integral helmets, but the idea with our helmets, just like the bikes, is that the one helmet works for many conditions. So these helmets, they're lightweight carbon fiber, so super lightweight. They have a lot of vents. So when you're doing the slow off-road stuff, you're sweating and you need all the air in you can get. So you can open a lot of vents. But then when you hit the highway, it might be cold and rainy, you can close the vents, so reduce the airflow.
Gotcha.
So generally speaking, street helmets, you don't have a lot of vents, because you don't really need them. You're going highway speeds.
Right.
And dirt bike helmets, they have so many openings that basically when it gets cold and wet, you're like, I need to close things up. So that's the idea with these helmets, that they're lightweight, but they'll have great ventilation. So
very cool, very cool.
And then we have riding gear. We have a couple different main lines. We have Touratech suits, and then we have US Climb riding suits. And again, similar idea there, that adventure riding gear usually has much more venting, better breathability, but they're waterproof outer layer, so that they can be, one suit basically can be used for just about all conditions. So we have other stuff too, basically soft luggage, other items that might be usable for adventure rides.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for that introduction to Touratech. And how cool is this stuff, guys? Look at this.
That bike there, that's a neat story. So the local guy from Seattle area, he basically decided that he's going to buy a bike and kind of do what you're planning to do. So he's like, I'm just going to start riding.
Yeah.
He went up to Alaska. See the red line on the pannier?
Yeah.
That's eventually all he did. So he rode about 3 years, 100,000 miles around the world. And finally he ran out of money and I got to come back home and start working.
Yeah.
But that's how his bike looks like from the trip.
Wow.
And the cool thing though was that he came back and he's like, well, I got to find a job. He was a carpenter and house builder previously. So we had just bought this building a few weeks earlier. So we're like, well, you want to work here? He's like, yes. So he's the one who built everything here. All the offices.
Is that
and
right?
This was just the ugly warehouse building inside here. So then he, worked here probably about 8 months, earned enough money. And then during his travels, he had met a German woman in Africa. So he then moved over there and they lived there for couple, I think over 10 years, and eventually moved to her native Berlin. And
wow.
So it was a neat story.
Well, he did a beautiful job.
I know.
This place is amazing when you walk in.
It's a similar story. So by the way, that guy, when he was building, look, he had these interesting touches, here on the handles, so kind of motorcycle themed.
Yeah, that's great.
So that bike up there is similar, is a 2000 KTM 640 Adventure. and a German woman, and at the time her riding partner, they rode around the world for about 4 years. Similarly has about 100,000 miles on the clock, and just kind of put away up there, and it's still working actually, but it's been there for a long time.
Look at that skid plate.
Yeah, it's actually a skid plate and toolbox.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It serves 2 functions.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
So that was funny also when she was done with the trip, she had more or less slept in a tent for years. So when she was done with the trip and she went back to Germany, and this was in the middle of the winter when it was like freezing, and we actually happened to be there and visited with her, and she, basically at night her bedroom window was completely open, and we're like, and she said like, I can't sit.
Yeah.
So it was very like she was so used to sleeping in the tent that she's like, I gotta kind of gradually, I like the fresh air and the sound of the nature. So
out of her luggage rack, and it has something written on there.
Yeah, Arabic, I think. I don't
Arabic,
know.
Yeah, it looks Arabic or something. That's great. And that's one of the beautiful things about today's world, where you got people like Charlie Sinawa, Soy Tribu, Itchy Boots, and they're in the world, but they're actually being able to sustain themselves doing it through their YouTube channels. And hey, that is a beautiful thing. That's my goal. If I can get there to that level.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, so we're going to take it outside for a little demonstration.
That's the thing with these big bikes, they barely fit through the doors nowadays.
There it is. Well, I'm going with Pan America for my adventure. I'm pretty nervous about it. I hope I'm not making a mistake. Like I said, I've never been on an adventure bike. I know you've heard me say that a couple times, but it feels right for what I want to do, and especially, as I said, getting into South America. I don't know what the roads are like out there. I'm pretty sure they're not all paved like here. It is a good looking bike. It is a good looking bike. We're just not used to it. I'm just not used to it, but it is a good looking bike. It's a big difference from the Ultra Classic, big difference from anything I've ever ridden. I've obviously done a couple dirt bikes and stuff when I was a kid, but never anything like this. So, but hey man, if they can do it, I can do it. And if I can do it, you can do it. So we are going to, here he comes. Woo! Everyone talks quick, that Pan America response, and just about 150 horsepower to that rear tire. So I'm excited to see how this thing handles. Well, guys, I kind of messed up. I totally messed up. I came all the way to Seattle to purchase this Pan America, and I forgot one major thing. So I'm stuck here in Seattle and trying to figure it out. I forgot to bring the cashier's check for the purchase of the bike. So we're trying to figure out a different option. I have a credit union in Seattle, in Portland, and I'm all the way in Seattle with no branches. So we're trying to figure out an option. I think we're going to figure it out here with the company, maybe do a wire of some sort. But I got stuck here for a little bit, and in the meantime, I am going to have something I haven't had in a very, very long time from this place that was just down the street called Rainey's. I have no idea if this place is good or bad or what. I didn't even look up any reviews, but we're going to check it out. It's called Rainey's here in Seattle on Airport Way, and I ordered a meatloaf sandwich. I haven't had one of those in a long time. It was either that or one of their massive cheeseburgers. And I feel like if I have a cheeseburger right now, I will fall asleep on the bike on the way home. So I don't want to do that. So we're going to check out this meatloaf sandwich and see if we can figure out a solution to this money that I forgot for the purchase of that damn bike. All right, guys. Well, after a few hours, we figured it out. The wire went through, so we got that all worked out. I now officially own a dirt glide, and I'm on the road, and the adventure begins. I don't know if I like it. I got to tell you, it's only been 5 miles, and this bike is completely different. It's a different riding position. It's a different type of riding, and I'm not used to it. So not yet. We'll see. Stay tuned.